Hello students, welcome to the Amrita's monthly current affairs series, and we are discussing the last part of our economy sessions for prelims 2020. That is the second session of the July month. Let us start. First one is the bundling scheme. Actually, this scheme has been in the news from January and February. Now the government has issued the guidelines for this scheme. So first of all, very importantly, you need to keep in mind from the name itself, you cannot guess for what purpose it is for. So the bundling scheme is by the Ministry of Power, right? So bundling means making a bundle. Now they are saying that the generators of the power need to bundle the sources of the power, diversify the sources of the power. So along with the thermal power, they need to sell the renewable energy as well, and the bidders now will bid for it. Getting my point? So generators will bundle the renewable energy, the thermal energy in such a way, and they have provided the guidelines how much supply we need, how much this and that we need. Then the bidders will bid for it. So the idea is to improve this renewable energy, to plan to sell this renewable energy, right? So plans to sell this renewable energy and thermal power in a bundle so that end user can get the uninterrupted supply. So the idea is also to improve the renewable energy capacity, their use, and the fulfillment of the renewable purchase agreement by the DISCOMs. DISCOMs means the distribution, those who final do the distribution to the people, right? So what are the guidelines? Some of the guidelines we need to keep in mind. So the generators, those who generate the power, they have to at least maintain 85% of the availability, right? Both annually and during the peak hours. Then secondly, the bidders have to supply at least 50% power from the renewable sources. So you can say all these are part of the improving the renewable energy infrastructure in the nation, right? So that their acceptability and all these things, their economic viability and all these things improve. Okay. So yes, the problems are also there if you do not do that, right? So in renewable energy, obviously the solar component and the non-solar component is there, wind, hydro, and the combination of the same. So for our prelims purpose, what is important? The bundling scheme, what this bundling scheme for, right? Very easy question being asked, because that's a relatively tricky scheme, and UPSC does not want the students go into too much in the detail of it, but they want you to know, especially remember I told you every time that the energy resources, the energy schemes are very, very important, especially if they are related to the renewable energy part. Let us discuss something with respect to this renewable purchase obligation. It is very similar to the clean development mechanism or the sustainable development mechanism that we have discussed in the COP. Similarly, just like, for example, you produce a renewable energy, right? So you will produce also apart from it a renewable energy certificate. Now some of the people, the energy producers, they are required to, they have the obligation, renewable purchase obligation, that you have to get these much certificates, these much units of REC, that is certificate. One certificate is equal to 1 megawatt of electricity generated from a eligible renewable energy source. So if you are producing, that's fine. Otherwise, you will buy from someone who is producing the renewable energy. So he will sell you for that renewable energy certificate. It is very similar to the same mechanism, that is the primary or PSL certificates, this priority sector lending certificates. So if you are not able to give the priority sector lending the 40% limit, you will buy these certificates from someone who has given this money to the PSL sector, priority sector lending sector. So this carbon credit market and all these works on this concept only. Okay. So REC acts as a tracking mechanism for the solar, wind and other green energies as they flow into the power grid. So under the renewable, just very quickly, renewable purchase agreement, the bulk purchasers such as DISCOMs, open access consumer and the captive users, those who are using the money, using the energy, they are required to buy a certain proportions of the REC as well. Okay. So the proportions are set by the central and the state electricity regulatory authority, not important. These two power exchanges we have already read. Two are the power exchanges in India, Indian Energy Exchange and the Power Exchange of India, right? The price are determined by the market demand, and but the price, the forbearance price and the floor price are decided by the CERC, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. The floor price and the maximum price and the minimum price are decided by the CERC, and in between the market demand and supply make the moves, right? Next is MSME Emergency Response Program. So very easy. It is being, this is response being, this Funding will be given by the World Bank's arm, that is International Bank for the Reconstruction and Development. So around $750 million of the fund will be given for the micro, small and medium enterprises. So improving the financial flow to these MSMEs. Now you tell me where this basically money goes to. From World Bank, okay, they are giving to the government. Government gives to the, whether to the banks or to the NBFCs. We have discussed, right? NBFC is the long-term borrowing. These are the long-term borrowings. So these are the long-term borrowings we were discussing. Next, I wanted to discuss all the three farm bills. Actually, they are not being in the July month, but I wanted to discuss with you the three farm bills only and only from the prelims perspective. The first one, that is a farming, you need to keep in mind the name. Okay, because they can confuse you with the name, because three are different. One is very easy, two are sound similar. The first one is Farming Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance. Now not an ordinance, now an act. In September 20 it has been passed. Now this is an act. Okay. So the idea, the first one is APMC create a parallel. For example, this is the farmer. Now earlier the farmer was forced to sell his product to the APMC. Now the farmer can go to the parallel structure that can be created. They can sell, they are not forced to sell their product in the APMC. That is in simple language. Now earlier, why APMC were created? Very basic idea. Why APMC system was created? Why it was required? Because earlier the people, for example, money lender used to come to the farmer. They used to take up their produce, and the farmer have nothing to do. But now the farmers were given a compulsion, or you can say there is a legal provision that no one can take the crops directly from the farmer, at least on the legal grounds. So they have to send their money to the APMC. In the APMC, they will get the price with respect to the MSP and all. But now later on, we have seen the APMC has created a lot of problem, and that is why they have taken this APMC. Like slowly, the APMC system is getting rotten. If you have been doing the UPSC preparation, you must be knowing that the Model APMC Act has come in 2003, because agriculture is a state subject. So the central government cannot do a lot. They can only persuade and they can only say things. But now the government has taken the route. For example, as both the agriculture and the markets are state subject, but the center has given the argument that trade and commerce in the food stuff. Based upon this argument, they have come up with this particular act. So you can say a novel approach to do the things they want to do. Which of the state which has abolished this APMC system, or which has done this before? That is, one of the example is Bihar, Gujarat. Bihar 14 years ago in 2006 they have done it, and they did not have very favorable outcomes. That is being reported in the newspaper. But now currently we are focusing on the basically prelims part. So let us see the Farmers Produce and Trade and Commerce Promotion Facilitation Bill. So right, so who can buy then from farmers? Yes, they have to be licensed traders from the other states as well. They can buy. The idea is to increase the competitiveness. Farmers will get a better price for their produce. Farmers are not forced to sell in the APMC yard, right? So restrictions on selling the agriculture produce outside the APMC mart has been reduced, right? To the other states they can sow. So it will lead to one nation, one market kind of a thing. Okay. So the merchants having PAN are eligible, and all these things you need to keep in mind. Next is the ordinance to amend the Essential Commodities Act. Now, we have read that the Economic Survey has also talked about in one of the chapter when the state intervention goes wrong, right? Our this year's Economic Survey talked about the invisible hand of the capitalism, isn't it? Or invisible hand of the market, supported by the hand of trust by the government. So one of the arguments that they have given that the Essential Commodities Act have not served any purpose, and we need to amend it. And on that idea, the government has amended, and it has also become a bill on September 22. Okay. So the idea is it will deregulate the production, storage, movement and distribution of these food commodities. So for example, again, the idea is, so what is basically the idea of the Essential Commodities Act? So if the government decides something under the Essential Commodities Act, you cannot hold a lot of quantity of it. So what are the problems for the food, for example, food processing industry? They cannot hold. When they cannot hold, why they will invest in the cold storage? Why they will invest in the supply chain infrastructure, right? So when they cannot invest in that, how will our food processing industry will develop? Okay, so the entrepreneurship spirits have been dampened due to the stringent provisions of the Essential Commodities Act. Farmers suffer huge loss when there is a bumper harvest of the perishable commodities because they cannot store it in the cold storage, because cold storage infrastructure is not developed. The state itself, the government itself, you can say, cannot develop a lot of infrastructure. So they need the private sector, and the private sector will not, because the Essential Commodities Act says that anyway government can intervene and say no, you cannot store this thing, then the whole purpose is defeated. So this is that. Okay, so the wastage can be reduced, and based upon this argument, based upon this basically agricultural distortion due to the ECAs, based upon these ideas, they have said no, ECA has been amended. Then we have discussed Essential Commodities Act before also, so you can continue from that as well. Then the last one is Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement on the Price Assurance and the Farm Services Bill. This is basically the bill that allows for the contract farming. So what is contract farming, we'll discuss somewhere down the line, because that's not important, at least for discussion, very easy. So contract farming is what? Basically a farmer having a contract with a private person that we will buy, you just plant all the potatoes and we will buy at you at later date for our specific purpose. They will say, okay, these are our requirements, you fulfill these requirements, we will pay you, and you give us potato for this many years, like this. It is good because the farmers have an assurance. These people, these outside corporates can help farmer in these outsiders, this corporate can help in the better price realization. The price can be good. They can help them with the other services. For example, the better pesticides, insecticides, all these things, better seeds. So these corporates can help him in that. So the farmers' education will improve. These are the potential benefits of the corporate farming as has been said. So let us see. So enable farmers to get access to modern technology and get better inputs. Transfer the risk of the market unpredictability from farmer to the sponsor. Why? When they have made a contract, then they have to live up to it. Okay. So for example, something happened, then if it is in the contract, then the sponsor will be responsible as well as the farmer. So like these are the arguments given in the favor of the contract farming. But one of the major argument that has been given, because this sponsor will be a corporate, he will be at a very high pedestal. Pedestal means power hierarchy if we talk about. And the farmer will be at this level. If something happens, how will these two can enable? Can this be a very just contract? Answer is no. The farmers are saying, okay, that's fine, it will work good for 1 to 2, 3, 4 years. But now later on, the farmer will depend upon this corporate, and later on the corporates will do the bargaining power. They will do all these shady things so as to reduce the overall the bargaining power of the farmer, and the farmers will be reduced to the forced labor. The more technical point we'll discuss later, but from prelims perspective, this much information is more than enough. Okay. The sponsor may not like to deal with this small and marginal farmer. They will say, no, I'll deal with the only large farmer. So what it will create more inequalities within the agricultural sector itself. Already all the benefits are going to the big farmers only, not to the small and medium farmer. It will increase the inequality within the agricultural sector. So what is the benefit of all this? So that's the end of the session. I just wanted to discuss in brief all these 3 bills. The later on, if we have a session, we are planning to have a mains impetus sessions, a complete program. So where we can discuss about these things in detail from examination perspective, obviously. So let us start with few questions. So first question is, the price decontrol essentially offers fuel retailers such as Indian Oil, HPCL, BPCL the freedom to fix prices of the fuel based upon the calculation of their costs and profits without any government intervention. Prices of which of the following have been decontrolled in India? Decontrol mean which is no longer government decides basically. Yes, government can take tax on it, but government cannot administered it. No, you have to sell this at this price. That thing does not happen with which of the following fuels: petrol, diesel, aviation turbine fuel, and domestic LPG. Try to answer this question. Okay, so we need to keep in mind, so how the price of, for example, from 2001 airfoil turbine fuel has been deregulated, the petrol price have been deregulated from 2010, the diesel price have been deregulated in 2014, but still the domestic LPG and the kerosene have not been deregulated. They are still being regulated by the government. Now you can say how the government, then everybody blames this government for these prices. Yes, they should not. But what the government can do, government can increase the taxes on it, increase and decrease the taxes on it. But that does not mean that they regulate the prices. The base price will remain the same. Yes, the taxes can increase and decrease, but overall that will come under the deregulation only. Okay, so remember that aviation turbine fuel, petrol and diesel are deregulated, and these two have not been deregulated. They are still being regulated by the government. Okay, so answer is 1, 2 and 3, and the fourth one, domestic LPG, is not. Let us go to the next question. Consider the following statement with respect to the market economy under the WTO. Non-market economies are those where all the domestic prices are fixed by the government. India has recently recognized China as a market economy because China has been wanting this market economy status, isn't it? So try to answer this question. Okay, so basically non-market WTO defines non-market economy as the particular economy where the government has the complete or substantial control based upon the trade and the domestic prices. So where this, from the name itself, non-market, where the free market is not there. When the free market is not there, so who will decide? The government, obviously. So where the government has a lot of say in the trade practices. So that are the non-market economies. So WTO members are allowed to apply. So WTO members, so they define an economy as the non-market economy and the market economy. WTO members are given the privilege or given the chance or are allowed to apply these anti-dumping measures for any company that is working in these non-market economies. Why? Because when the non-market economy is there, imagine the government can reduce the price of a product by giving more tax incentives or administer the prices. Now, if they export this product into the second country, country B, in that country, let us say that is a market economy. So it will destroy the other country's market because this product will have less price in this country. So the competition will be less in this country and the market will have the problems. Similarly, just like China is doing to India. So they are sending very cheap items to India. So our own domestic industry is not able to comply with that. So that is the idea. Now, when the China has entered into WTO in 2001, they have negotiated, they have said that China has not entered WTO from the start. So they have said on the one condition that we should be given the market economy status after 15 years. So from 2016, this issue has been going on because many countries such as European Union, USA are saying that this market economy status should not be given to the China because China does a lot of, for example, devaluation of their currency, right? They do not work on this market principles. A lot of state support is given to many industries. State is directly involved in the economy. So the prices do not reflect the supply and demand and the actual cost. And if they start dumping their things into the other country, it will destroy the other country's economy. So that is the idea behind the market and the non-market economy. So India has rejected the China's demand to grant it a market economy status. Okay, and will continue to treat China as a non-market economy so that it can impose the steep anti-dumping duties. Because if the market economy status is given to the China formally, then it will become very difficult for the WTO member, that is India, one of the country and that is facing the most problem from China, to impose anti-dumping duties. Because then China can go to the dispute settlement body of the WTO, can drag India into these cases and all these things. So India said that we will not treat China as a market economy, and especially after this Ladakh issue and all this is not possible in the short run. So statement 2 is wrong, first statement is right. where all the domestic prices are fixed by the government. Okay, now you can say that where all the domestic prices, but in UPSC if they frame question like that, yes, that this statement can be wrong as well, because not all but substantially the government regulates. Okay, so this statement is a bit, you see, that is why the UPSC papers are different, right? Because they do not frame the questions like it. They, here we frame questions in such a way that it leaves the scope of speculation and all this. So you get the concept, I believe, right? The next question, good question. Consider the following statement regarding the catastrophe bond, sometimes in news. They are low yield debt instruments that are usually insurance linked. In the case of a qualifying catastrophe or event occurs, it is the investor who will lose the principal they invested, and the issuer will receive the money to cover their losses. What are these? Catastrophe bond, or called the CAT bonds. So we have discussed actually CAT bonds and catastrophic bond. I have discussed you with the diagrams. So let us see. So CAT bonds or catastrophic bonds, they are the high yield debt instrument. Okay, so first thing you need to keep in mind, they are a high yield and very interesting instruments. Okay, so for example, there is an issuer, one who issues, and someone who invests, right? So issuer will issue this catastrophic bond to these investors. So investor will pay some money. If and only if the investor will pay the money, if and only if, or investor will gain from the bonds if and only if no disaster has occurred. Getting my point? If a disaster has occurred, if a catastrophe has occurred, the investor will lose the principal they invested and the issuer will receive the money to cover their losses. Getting my point? So it is basically a sort of insurance kind of a thing. If the catastrophe does not occur, yes, the investor will get a lot of money, right? You have invested in this. But if you have invested and nothing happens, if a catastrophe happens, the investor will not get anything. That is why it transfers the risk from issuers to the investors. Getting my point? It allows the investor to receive funding from the bond. They will get the funding. Issuer will get the funding only and only if any catastrophe occurs. Otherwise, not an issue. You have invested in this fund and that's fine. And especially it is said that it's a good exercise for those countries which are facing a lot of disasters. So what they can do? They can say, okay, we are issuing this catastrophic bond. We are issuing this catastrophic bond. So investor will come, okay, we will invest, right? So if the catastrophe does not occur, they will get their money back. If catastrophe occur, they will not get their money back. Very easy concept, right? So the risk linked security that transfer a specific set of risk from sponsors to the investor. So if the catastrophe occurs, the money will not be given back to the investors, but that's a high yield. Why? Because they'll earn a lot of money out of it. Okay. So who will invest? Do you think normal people invest in this? No. Only the hedge fund, the pension fund, other institutional investors, the big investors, they will invest. Why? Because they will get good returns out of it if there is no disaster. And if there is a disaster, they can say we are contributing to the disaster management, right? So remember, they are the short maturity dates. Why cannot be there very long maturity dates? Why? Why once investor will invest over the period of 50 years that no earthquake will come or no disaster like anything will come? They will be short term, obviously 3 to 5 years. So this is one thing we need to keep in mind. So this question can come on the catastrophe bond, right? And they are not linked to the general economic condition on the stock market. Why? Is there any connection with the economic market, short term, this stock markets and this crisis? Answer is no. So it is not linked to just like the normal bonds, it is not like that. Normal bonds and the equity, they are related to the stock markets and all this. This is not related to that. So the answer is the two only. First one is wrong. Okay, let us go to the next question. With reference to the Bombay plan put forward by the leading businessman and the industrialists of the time, consider the following statement. It is targeted 5-fold growth in the industrial sector over the 15 years. It is another objective was doubling the agriculture output in the next 15 years. It was premised on the view that the economy could not grow without the government regulation. So we have discussed last time the Gandhian plan, right? Gandhian plan and the Visvesvaraya plan, 1934 and 1944. So this is a Bombay plan. So let us see the answer. So the Bombay plan was an inspiration for independent India. So if you remember, the Nehru has been criticized that why you have selected an economic model, especially at that time by the Swatantrata Party, C. Rajagopalachari and all, that why you have not chosen the this market economy model, why you have chosen a quasi-socialist model, the mixed economy model that is more insular in nature. So you can imagine at that time, these corporate people were also saying, these corporate big industrialists, GRD Birla, GD Birla, John Mathai, Purushottam Das Thakurdas, they were also saying that no, the government sector is very important, significant role of the government. Okay, right? And setting up of this public sector industry. So that is why it is called Nehruvian consensus, because it was not only Nehru's thought that we should go ahead. No, it was the common journal perception in India that we should go ahead with this, right? So coming back to the topic, yes, it outlined a period of 15 years to double the output of agriculture and quadruple those of the industrial sector, and all these things, right? So what will be the answer? All the three statements are right. 5-fold growth in the industrial sector and 2-fold growth in the agriculture output. And yes, the government regulation is very much required. That is the Bombay plan. You need to keep in mind of these industrialists, right? Because sometimes UPSC asks question in the modern history, such questions. The last question is with reference to Tabhaga movement. So some static question. The movement started in the Telangana region. The sharecropper started the movement to demand a 2/3 share of the crop grown in the field. That is Tebhaga movement. Very famous movement, very close to our independence. Right? Try to answer this. Right. So I hope you know, because that's a static thing. So Tebhaga movement was in the North Bengal, North Telangana region, right? So a demand from the Bengal Provincial Kisan Sabha to give the Tebhaga, means 2/3 portion should be given to the sharecroppers, or they are called the Bargadars, right? And the remaining 1/3 should go to the Jotedar, or you can say the Zamindar, basically. Earlier, the practice was to give the half of the share to the Jotedar. So they said, no, we don't want the 50, we don't want to give the 50%, we want to give only the 33%. And they were supported in their argument, they were encouraged by the Flood Commission. Remember this. So the British Commission that was set up, which supported them, they said, yes, they should get the 2/3 to the sharecroppers and only 1/3 to the Jotedars, right? Later on, Muslim leagues came up with this Bengal Bargadar temporary regulation bill, was not passed. And finally, the Congress has come up with the 1950 Bargadar bill, and that was passed, and their demands were met. This is the small story behind it. Okay, so the answer will be the second statement only. The first statement is wrong, that it was not in the Telangana region, it was in the region of the North Bengal. Okay. So that's the end of the session, everyone. Let us very quickly see. We started discussion on the bundling scheme. Then it is for the Ministry of Power, Renewable Energy. Remember, one thing I forgot, the natural gas is not included. Now the people from the natural gas are saying, please include also this in the bundling scheme. Why? Because it will also create good impact on the natural gas market. So they are saying that we should be included, but currently they are not included. So remember that. Then MSME Emergency Response Fund by WBO's arm IBRD to the MSMEs. Then we have read 3 acts. First is Farmer Producing Trade and Commerce Act. Then Ordinance to the Essential Commodities Act. And the last is Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement on the Price Assurance and the Farm Service. Then 5 question. First, the deregulation of these oil, this fuel. Then market economy under the WTO. Then catastrophe bond we have read. Catastrophe band are important, understand it, and this much information is more than enough. Then the Bombay plan, and the last is Tribhaga movement. So with this, we finish our economy. So 14th month economy we have done. We have tried to cover a lot of bases, Basel, IBC, a lot of basics I have tried to cover. But one thing I can promise, from August month, we will be more holistic in nature. Okay, especially with respect to economy, which is a really tricky subject to cover. but we'll try to include more and more of the contextual based thing and the big picture stuff that I have promised. So see you in the next class, everyone. Science and tech 4 sessions are left very quickly. There also will be there. So see you all. Bye bye for now. Thank you.